Ray felt the cool morning breeze caress his face. He opened his eyes, enjoying the tranquility of Montana's wilderness. But when he tried to yawn, he felt something strange. Panic gripped him as he realized he couldn't open his mouth. Ray sprang up and rushed to the nearest stream to see his reflection in the water. His heart pounded and his head swirled with fear. He saw his face, but instead of a mouth, there was smooth, flawless skin. His scream was silent. He raised his hands to his face, hoping it was just a nightmare. Ray had been a forest ranger in Montana for over 10 years. He loved the solitude and beauty of the mountains, but today these mountains seemed hostile. He knew he had to find help as soon as possible. Ray hurried to the nearest settlement, where his old friend Sarah, a healer, lived. She always knew how to help in a difficult moment. When he reached her house, Sarah was in the yard, gathering herbs. Seeing him, she stopped in surprise. Ray pointed to his face and tried to speak, but to no avail. Sarah came closer and examined him. Fear appeared in her eyes. "This is an ancient curse," she said. "It happens rarely, but I've heard of it from my grandmother. We need to find old books to understand how to lift it." Sarah led him to her cabin, where shelves were lined with ancient books. Together they began to search for answers. After several hours, Sarah found the right book. This is the curse of silence, imposed by the spirits of the mountains. It can only be lifted if we find their lair and perform a ritual, but it's very dangerous. Ray and Sarah decided to venture into the mountains to find the spirits. They knew it would be a dangerous journey, but there was no other way. Taking the necessary items, they set off. The Montana mountains had always been beautiful, but this time they seemed grim and menacing. Along the way, Sarah told Ray stories about the ancient tribes that lived here many years ago. They believed the mountain spirits guarded this place and punished those who angered them. By evening, they reached a cave that, according to Sarah, was the home of the spirits. They entered, and darkness enveloped them. Sarah lit a lantern, and they moved further inside. Deep in the cave, they found ancient drawings and symbols on the walls. Sarah began to recite an incantation from the book, and suddenly everything around them glowed with a strange light. The light grew brighter, and the mountain spirits appeared. They were enormous, sinister beings with transparent bodies and fiery eyes. Sarah continued to chant the incantation, while Ray stood beside her, holding the amulet she had given him. The spirits rose above them, and one of them spoke. "You have come to lift the curse. But are you ready to pay the price?" Ray couldn't speak, but his eyes showed determination. He raised the amulet and showed it to the spirits. Sarah finished reciting the incantation, and the light became even brighter. Suddenly, Ray felt his body begin to change. Pain shot through him, and he fell to his knees. The spirits vanished, and the light faded. Sarah ran to him and helped him up. He felt something had changed on his face. He carefully touched it and realized his mouth had returned. Ray tried to speak, and this time his voice rang clear. He turned to Sarah and saw she was crying. "It worked," he said. "But why are you crying?" Sarah lowered her eyes. "You don't understand," she said. "The price was too high. The spirits took part of your soul. You will never be the same again." Ray felt a coldness inside. He realized something important had been lost. They returned to the settlement, but Ray felt like a stranger in his own body. He could no longer enjoy the beauty of the mountains as he once did. They seemed empty and lifeless to him. Several months passed. Ray returned to his work, but felt something was wrong. One morning, he woke up with the same sensation that he couldn't open his mouth. He rushed to the mirror and saw that his mouth had disappeared again. Panic seized him. He realized the curse had not been fully lifted. This was only the beginning. Ray went to Sarah's, but found her house empty. She had vanished without a trace. Ray understood the spirits were playing with him. They had given him temporary relief, but now he was their toy. Each time he woke up without a mouth, he knew it was only the start of a new cycle of suffering. The Montana mountains became a true nightmare for him. He could no longer find peace, day or night. The story of the curse of silence became his life, and he understood he could never escape this vicious circle. Ray knew his life would never be the same again. And when he looked at the mountains he once loved, he saw only the senselessness and cruelty of the spirits guarding this place. He became a prisoner of Montana, and his silence became his eternal punishment.